Hello, Feuzion. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Fusion News here in upstate New York. I'm hoping everyone is being safe and staying off those horrible condition roads. I'm on the phone right now with John Flaherty from Yes Network. He's also stuck in New York and hoping to get down to Florida to cover the Yankees. Of course, it's still spring training. It feels like winter training up here in New York. It seems foolish to be talking baseball when we're getting about 3 feet of snow here in New York right now. So, John, how are you doing? And how are those Yankees doing? They're doing pretty well, right?
You know what, Alex? I'm doing fine. Like you, I'm stuck in the snowstorm, but looking forward to getting back to Tampa tomorrow morning. Hopefully, if my flight is able to leave. And yeah, the Yankees are having a good spring. I think all the excitement that everybody was talking about this winter with some of the young players, it's all come true when you get down to Tampa and Steinbrenner Field and you watch the prospects out on the field, and the talent level is impressive. And also, these kids are performing at a high level. I know it's just spring training, but it's kind of like they're probably a little bit better than advertised. So a very bright future for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, like you said, over the offseason, of course, they saw the trade with Brian McCann sending him down to Houston. And were you surprised with this trade, really naming Gary Sanchez that starter catcher for the Yankees? Were you surprised that, right off the bat, they're giving Gary Sanchez his starter position?
I don't think I'm surprised about it. I mean, obviously what he did the last couple of months with the 20 home runs impressed everybody. But I think the Yankees kind of looked a little bit deeper, Brian Cashman especially, and watched Gary work with the pitching staff. I think that was, for me, being an ex-catcher, the most impressive part of it. He wasn't intimidated. He calls a good game. I mean, obviously he blocks. He throws phenomenally well. But I think it was a maturity level of the way he handled a veteran staff that impressed everybody. And I think that was probably the ultimate decision, that you have an asset in Brian McCann, you're going to be able to get something in return. So the trade made sense to me.
Now, you, of course, like you said, you're an ex-catcher. So what do you see in Gary Sanchez? Do you see, if he doesn't live up to those expectations that Yankees fans are holding him to this season, do you think he can? He's still very young in the game. Like you said, 2 months into the season, 20 home runs. So if this season is kind of a letdown season, do you see him really being the star catcher in the next few years?
I really do, Alex. My biggest concern with Gary was this offseason, because of everything he did last year. He got a lot of attention this offseason. He was doing autograph shows. People were pulling at his time. And for a young player, sometimes that can be overwhelming, and you might not come into camp in great shape. But Gary came into camp in great shape. He physically looked great. He's performing phenomenally well during the spring. His throwing has been incredible. He's hitting home runs. So I've been very, very impressed with him, with what he's done on the field, but also how he's handling himself off the field. So I know Yankee fans have high expectations. I wouldn't put any numbers, with those expectations. Just let him go out there and stay healthy, and I think Yankee fans are going to be very, very happy with the numbers at the end of the year.
Now, Gary Sanchez did, in fact, hit a home run today in the spring training game against Tampa Bay Rays, and also the guy behind him hitting the lineup today, Greg Bird. He had a triple right behind Gary Sanchez solo home run. So Greg Bird missed all of last season. What kind of expectations do you have for Greg Bird this season coming back from his injury?
I think, Alex, this spring was big for Greg Bird. Big for him and big for the organization, because he's a big question mark coming off of that shoulder surgery, and he's answered all the questions during spring training. He's great driving the ball the other way. He looks good in the field. So, some spring trainings are more important for certain players, and I thought this was a big one for Greg Bird. And he looks like he's ready to go. I see him playing every day. I don't see it being a problem hitting against lefties. I mean, obviously they brought in Chris Carter to do some of that, but I think Greg Bird is going to turn into an everyday player that is going to be a very reliable everyday player.
Now, one more question, Mark, for this Yankee team is a starter rotation. You have Tanaka, Pineda, Sabathia, and, they have 2 more guys that they need to fill in. Of course, Eovaldi went down with Tommy John surgery over the offseason, and he will not be with the Yankees this season. So I have to say this. Sabathia did not look great in his first spring training game last week, leading 6 runs in just 2/3 of an inning. So, John, I have to say, what's the deal with this New York Yankees starter rotation this season?
Well, the one thing I will say, Tanaka looks like he's ahead of schedule. He looks great. Pineda has had a great outing and then a rough one, and you mentioned Sabathia. I wouldn't worry about CC Sabathia. I think you know what you're getting in Tanaka. You know what you're going to get in Sabathia. Pineda's a big question mark. Even if he has a good spring, he still has to answer those questions during the year about can you make a big pitch with 2 strikes? Can you finish off an inning with 2 outs? And the Yankees aren't going to know that until they get into the season. But there's so much upside with him, you have to stick with him. And then the final 2 spots, you get Severino, who probably is going to get an opportunity. And again, he's a guy that, to me, spring training doesn't matter. You have to see it during the regular season. You have to see it in some pressure situations. And then Brian Mitchell is somebody that I've liked his arm for a long time, and he can just stay healthy. Sess is a guy that has a shot in green. So they have some options. I think you're right. There are some question marks, but I think also some of those question marks could be answered in a very positive way, especially if Pineda figures it out, Severino figures it out. Then you start feeling pretty good about your rotation.
Now, do you see Severino, if he does not make the starter rotation, do you think he could be a key piece to the Yankee bullpen this year?
You know what Brian Cashman has said, if he doesn't make the rotation, he wants to continue him as a starter in the minor leagues. You know what? I think you got to find out one way or another, Alex, right? I mean, during the year, find out what this kid is. If he starts in the first half and he struggles, then maybe you make a decision to send him to the bullpen for the second half and strengthen your bullpen. So there's a lot to like about him, and there's another step for him to take, and the Yankees are hoping that that next step is going to happen in the first half of this year.
John, we'll switch gears and talk Pete Rose making headlines again before we wrap up the interview and talk flashspeaks.com. But Pete Rose is back in the headlines saying Evan Longoria, he feels he should be on the Yankees or Cubs in a higher market team instead of Tampa Bay Rays. So, John, do you see Evan Longoria making a move to New York or Chicago in the next, this season?
Well, it's interesting that Pete Rose was saying that, because even when I was down in Tampa working the Rays game against the Yankees, the conversations are all about Chris Archer. They're all about Evan Longoria, these guys that maybe the Rays should trade in order to restock their minor league system. Evan has been a fixture down there. We know he's a big-time player that maybe flies under the radar. Obviously, the Yankees will have a need for a third baseman in the future. So, there are a lot of possibilities there. I think Longoria would look great in the Yankee uniform, but, what's the price tag going to be? The Yankees have, coveting their minor league players now and their prospects, and rightfully so.
And it would be good to get him on our team because he's been a real killer for the Yankees with the Rays.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
So, John, of course, before we wrap up the interview, you have your own website, and, how has that been going? I know the last time we talked was last summer, so how has this website transformed over the past few months?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Alex. Flashspeaks.com is basically, something that my son started about, me doing some public speaking. We've gained some interest in, doing some graduation speeches, talking to some youth organizations. So it's an opportunity, another opportunity. I enjoy getting out there and kind of giving back. And, flashspeaks.com is just another way for maybe some of the fans to get in touch with me. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you again for coming on my show. And where can the fans follow you along on Twitter throughout the New York Yankee baseball season?
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. Okay, Fuse Nation, thank you for watching this Fusion News episode. Follow along with me at Alex Fuse on Twitter. Go back, watch all my other episodes, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you later this week with some former WWE superstar, who could it be, and writer. Thank you for watching. I will see you later this week, and stay warm out there. Get the shovels out. Thanks for watching.